Welcome back to Gambler Spec. On the last episode, we took my 1-liter 4-cylinder Lifan engine out of the go-kart and dropped it into my 1973 Suzuki LJ50. We were able to turn the key and hear it make noise, so we know it's going to run. But on this episode, the goal is to get Mustard running and driving again for the first time in a long time. In order for that to happen, we've got a lot of stuff to do, so let's get started. Oh, geez, yeah. Okay.
Holy crap, I can't believe I did it.
So let's just do a quick walk around. Let me show you the stuff that needs to be done before we can get Mustard out and driving again. So up under the hood, we've got to work out the cooling system. I do have the radiator, lower mounts are done. Just need to work out that upper mount and then the hoses. I'll need to work out some type of a fan as well. I don't think I have room on the backside, so probably an electric slim fan on the front to push the air through the radiator. I've got to work out the fuel system. This old fuel pump leaks, so we'll need to either replace that or switch over to an electric pump. The brake master cylinder is completely froze up, so we'll need to get that looked at as well, possibly replaced. Inside, we're going to need new seats. We're also going to need to get this shifter reinstalled. I did get those bushings 3D printed, so that shouldn't be a big deal. This gas tank is going to need to be looked at. It never had a fuel cap when I bought it, so I'm sure the thing is full of rust, but we'll need to work out some type of a fuel tank for the thing. It's going to need new tires. I did order those today, so they should be here next week, so that'll work out. I do have the other wheels so that they match the rear for the front, so that'll be great. The thing I'm working on now, don't look at this, that's the next episode. The thing I'm working on now is this exhaust. So this is bits and pieces from the LJ, bits and pieces from the go-kart. I've just kind of tacked and pieced everything up in front of the muffler is pretty well finish welded. Everything from here back still needs to be finish welded. It's just kind of tacked into place. I did reuse the muffler from the go-kart and all the hangers from the LJ. So it fits in there as is. I just need to kind of finish that up. We're going to work on that first, get the exhaust reinstalled, and then we can kind of move forward from there. Got the exhaust installed, got that all finished up. I gotta say, barring any major leaks, I am really happy with the way that exhaust turned out. Here's a bunch of the stuff that I didn't end up using from the two exhaust systems, but everything seemed to work out just fine on that. Next thing I'm doing, I've got all those bushings that I 3D printed. I'm gonna go ahead and get this shifter assembly installed. The bushings just kind of sit in each of the bigger holes, and then like in this case, you can see the rod goes through the bushing, and then there's just a cotter pin that holds everything in place. So I'm gonna take this shifter assembly, get it installed here, connect it up to the transmission, and then we'll get this cover and boot installed back over the transfer case as well. Okay, so the initial shifter mount had rubber insulated bushings in here, and what I found was after I got it all installed, it had so much play in the rubber that it was just super sloppy and wouldn't go into gear. So basically for now, I've just thrown some washers on there. We'll be able to come up with a more permanent fix if this actually works out. So you can see I did hook up the clutch using the go-kart clutch cable. It seems like it might be working. But anyway, so yeah, first, second, over here on this left side is just, I think my linkage might be binding up a little bit in there. So yeah, first, second, third, fourth, reverse. So for a first draft, I think that's going to be good. At least I can tell if I'm in neutral for when I'm starting it, and then I should be able to make it move with that, and we can tweak it as needed. Next thing I think I need to do is get this brake master cylinder off. Obviously, these connections to the brake lines are going to be the biggest concern. Really don't want to strip those out, but I need to get this thing off so I can try to find some type of a replacement for it. So I got this brake master cylinder off, went online to try to find a replacement. I figured maybe I could find something that was comparable or off of maybe a newer model, different model that was the same. Ended up finding out, I went to a website, I think it was like LJ10.com, and looking up LJ50 info. And according to the website, there were 0 LJ50s imported into the United States. So I knew that this LJ50 was rare, but I didn't realize that it was going to be that rare. So that just means it's going to be really hard for me to find parts, harder than I thought. When I originally bought this thing, it was listed as an LJ20, which is also difficult, but there were LJ20s that were imported into the US. Now that I know it's an LJ50, everything's just a little bit more difficult to find. So what that means is I'm going to need to try to get this thing to work. So I went ahead and took the snap ring off. I got the rod pulled out, and now between some penetrating oil and some finagling, I need to try to get this thing apart, get it cleaned up, and get this moving again, get it freed up, hopefully, so I can use this. Otherwise, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. There wasn't anything that I could find that had this same bolt pattern, same configuration. So I'm going to spend the next little bit trying to soak this thing in the PB blaster and get it freed up and get it moving again. So I've managed to hammer the piston in, but I'm going to need some tools to get it back out, and I'm also going to need a hone to smooth off the inside of that brake master. So I went ahead and ordered the parts. I also found that the brake master for a early 70s Datsun 620 pickup looks almost identical. So I went ahead and ordered one in hopes that I could steal the guts out of it if I can't make it work. It has the bolts top and bottom, so I'll have to see if that's going to work at all, but I figured go ahead and order it, and then we can see when it gets here if I can use it or not. The next thing I've got to work out is going to be this gas tank with no gas cap. I'd imagine it's going to be real bad, so I'm not exactly excited about it, but I need to go ahead and get the gas tank dropped out of here and just see what we got going on inside. Well, I can tell you from the sound that it is not good. See? Not sure if you can hear that. Basically sounds like it's full of dirt. So I'm imagining that's all rust. So let's see here. How bad? Oh, wow. Oh, there's still a lot in there. Come on. Well, that's definitely not all that's in there, but that's a good sample. I think you're gonna have to rinse it out to get any other stuff, but there's some pretty big chunks of stuff in here. We got leaves. I think there was a bee or something in here too. So not good. I kind of knew it wasn't going to be good. I don't know. I don't really want to try to look for a replacement tank, so I guess I'll just flush it out and see how it does. I mean, it feels okay. And if the pickup tube is not picking up off the very bottom, then maybe it's okay. These bolts that are on here, looks like someone tried to take it off at some point because they're already stripped. So I could try to take that off and look inside. I don't know if it's gonna be worth it or not. We'll just have to see. For now, I think I'm gonna go get some vinegar, and then I'm gonna just put some vinegar and nuts and bolts inside of this thing, shake it around, and see if I can't get that to clear up a little bit. So I took off this sending unit to give you a little bit better idea of what's going on inside the tank. My main concern was this pickup tube, because if the tube was completely rotted off and broken, then I'm not gonna be able to get the gas from the bottom. But it actually looks like it's intact. Most of this rust looks like it's just contained on the bottom of the tank. So I think I'm just gonna keep going with my plan to rinse this thing out, throw some nuts and bolts in there, and use it as is. Okay, so here's the after. Let's see if we can focus. Not perfect, but much better. I just put a bunch of this clean and etch stuff on it that's supposed to neutralize rust. Supposed to let that dry overnight, so we'll let that dry while it sits up in the car. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing put back together and put back in. All right, well, things have been happening here, including busting my phone, so the audio may sound a little bit different during this part. But I've got the gas tank back up inside, and I filled it up with gas yesterday, see if I have any leaks, and it looks pretty good. I don't see any leaks here. The other stuff I've done, I installed a fuel filter and an electric fuel pump. Everything's just kind of tossed under here for now. And I've got the fuel line, feed line here with another filter, and the return line, which is here. We've got all that in place. So now I think we're actually ready to see if it'll pump some fuel. So I've got the battery here. Let me just run, and I think I still need to plug this fuel pump in. Let me plug this in real quick and then we'll test it. Okay, so we've got the fuel pump plug connected. I also got this nice little locking fuel filler cap, pretty cool. So once we turn this key, the fuel pump should turn on, hopefully, and then we'll see if we have fuel and hopefully not leaks. Okay, kind of loud. Okay, there, oh, sounds like we got fuel, hold on. Oh yeah. Awesome. I'm just waiting at any moment for fuel to be blasting out somewhere here. Well, it's pumping. So cool. So we know the fuel pump is pumping. I've got the coil unhooked now, so I'm not quite ready to start it. I needed to clean up some of this wiring, and it still has no brakes. So I think what we'll do, let's switch over and I'm gonna work on the brake master cylinder here for a little bit. I did get the new one. So here's that new one that I bought. Like I said, this was off like a Datsun 620 pickup or something like that. But I mean, you can see why I picked it. It looks very, very similar to this one. Some of the differences, the reservoirs look a little bit taller, but I mean, the style is like spot on, exactly what you would think. They're both 3/4 inch. And then the difference is, you can see this one has like a vertical mounting bolts where mine has the horizontal mounting bolts. So I don't think I can just bolt this one right in. The other part that's different is where you hook up the brake lines is underneath on this one, where mine's on the driver's side. But they look, I'm hoping that they're similar enough that I can pull off stuff like, you know, these plastic reservoirs, pull the guts out of it, and that it'll be similar enough that I can rebuild this one using parts off this, because finding parts for this is impossible. So the next thing I've got to work on is getting that piston and all the springs and all the guts out of this one. So I bought a brake cylinder hone as well as an extractor kit to try to get that out. So let's work on that next. Well, that came out. So Took some work. Now I gotta see about getting the back one out. All right, so the brake master cylinder is just fighting me. I can't seem to get that rear spring assembly out of there, so I needed to move on and do something else for a little while. I did put in off camera, I put in this Amazon radiator as well as an electric fan. The fan is not hooked up. I put the grill back on. I did put the old radiator hoses on this. The bottom hose seemed to work out just fine, but this top one, which was like a sharp bend, is not good. It's pretty bad. It's got lots of wrinkles and kinks. So I did order another one that I think will work. I ordered it off of AutoZone, and it was supposed to be here yesterday. Now it says it's not gonna be here till next Thursday. So kind of annoying, but I do want to try to start this thing. I need some kind of a win today. So now that I know I have fuel, I hook my coil back up, and hopefully I'm in neutral. Let's just see if it'll start. Can't run it very long with no coolant in it, but let's see. Okay, choke. Oh yeah, okay, cool. Come on. That thing is so light. Sweet. Lots of vacuum leaks everywhere from all this power brakes. Lots of smoke coming off from the paint on the exhaust, but man, that's not bad. Looks like we've got a little bit of a fuel leak here, probably from the fact that I turned this fitting to make it work a little better, but that's gonna run. So, I don't know what to do about this brake master cylinder. There's a chance I could take this other one and modify it and make it fit in there, but I don't really want to. But also, on this one, there's no guarantee that after I somehow get the spring out of there, that this other one's even gonna work. It looks similar, but you never know. So I'm gonna take a little bit of time and see if I can figure out what I'm gonna do about brakes. But I think we're gonna run, and just a few things we need to touch up, but I think it's gonna work, so. I'll be back. Okay, so I think this is my new plan. This thing fits sorta. It hits the fuel pump right there at the top of that reservoir. But now that we've got electric, I can actually delete this fuel pump, and that'll give me a little bit of clearance. I'll just maybe cut out like a block out plate out of steel and bolt it back on so that it covers that, doesn't leak oil. Once we get rid of that, we'll have enough clearance on this part. That'll also give us access to the top a little bit better. The biggest problem I'm gonna have, I think, is just I've gotta get these bent up and underneath. That makes it real tight on that steering knuckle there. Ooh, I'm not sure. Not sure if that's gonna make it or not. And then the other part up under here, you can see how far those bolts are apart. Well, if you go up and down that same distance, you hit the bend in the steel. So it's gonna take a little bit of work, but I think that's gonna be easier than trying to get that stupid spring out of there. It is just not, it's not budging. So I think this is my plan. I'm gonna just refocus my efforts on making this one work, getting rid of the fuel pump, and using this brake master cylinder instead. All right, so we got this brake master installed. I'm not super thrilled with how the lines came out, but it's in there. I did make up this block off plate in digital, so I'll need to cut that out on the plasma next time I go to the college. But this seems okay. I tried to bleed the brakes, and technically they will, I mean, they'll get some. Basically goes to the floor until you pump it, and then you feel like you have something after you pump it. So probably just gonna need to do a little bit more bleeding work on that, and I'll also check my wheel cylinders when I pull these wheels and tires off, because the next step is gonna be getting these 30 by 10 by 15 Milestar Patagonia. These are side-by-side tires. They have a 600-pound weight capacity each, and I think this whole thing weighs 1,300 pounds. So they were a little cheaper then going with the light truck tire to do side-by-side tires. And so I think that's gonna be just perfect. I'm gonna take these back wheels and tires off, take them in with me. I can leave these front ones on because obviously I'm not messing with those. And I got these two cleaned up and ready to go. So we'll get all those put on. I'm just gonna go drop this off at the tire shop and we'll pick it up tomorrow. And then we can inspect these wheel cylinders when we go to put them back on. So this side seems pretty dry. I'm not sure there's an issue with the wheel cylinder, but the shoe has chunks missing from it. So that's no good. This side, everything seems pretty wet. So that tells me probably this wheel cylinder is leaking, but it's pretty shiny. So I don't know. I'm gonna look and see if I can find, probably won't be able to, but see if I can find some kind of brake shoes that will fit in this and see how available these wheel cylinders are. And we'll pull these front ones off as well and take a look. Okay, so we got all the brakes completely pulled apart here, front and rear. It took a little bit of effort, but we did get everything apart. You can see in this one, really doesn't look terrible. I don't know that it's ever been replaced before. So just old, not a lot of leaks on the driver's side. And then here on the passenger side, everything looks a little bit more wet on this side. So looking for brake parts. I did find a place out of Australia that looks like they might be able to get me a set of shoes, front and rear, as well as wheel cylinders. So I'm talking to them right now. I took a bunch of measurements and we'll see if we can make what they have work. Really, with including shipping, excuse me, including shipping from Australia, it really didn't seem too crazy as far as price. So I think that might work. I got to send them pictures as well as the measurements and see if what they have is going to work for me. But now that we've got the brake parts kind of figured out, we're going to get stuff ordered. I went ahead and got the wheels and tires mounted up. Those are going to look pretty awesome. I did have problems with there not being center caps. So I went on the computer, designed up a center cap design, sent it over to the college and had them printed out. And this is what I came up with. So a pretty basic center cap. I've got some holes kind of pre-drilled here from the 3D printer. I've got some Allen head screws coming today. I'll put the Allen head screws in there, and then those should fit up over the top of that. And then already checked this part, but yeah, these will fit inside the center here. So should be perfect. So the next thing I'm going to do is get these brakes put back together temporarily, and we'll get these wheels and tires mounted up. we've got the wheels and tires installed. Center caps are done. I think that came out perfect. Really happy with that mustard custom touch that you get by doing the 3D print and getting it done over at the college. It ended up costing me just over 20 bucks to get the whole thing done. So I thought that was a great deal. Really added a lot to the look of the vehicle. Next thing we've got to figure out, this LJ was sat next to a fire at one point, and so it melted everything from, you know, the plastic that was here over the gauges, the steering wheel, up here, the windshield wiper, all the plastic and fabric that was on this thing was roached, including these seats. So we're gonna need to do something different. I don't think it's worth trying to put padding and reupholster these. My friend PMax actually hooked me up with these seats, which were out of a side-by-side that they didn't have anymore. These seat covers have been on them since they were brand new. So they're in really good shape. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna start by just getting these seats taken out. It's like the most simple and basic seat mount you can imagine. Basically just a metal slot, and then you just take a bolt and it just goes down through the slot. That lets you move it forward and backward. So I'll go ahead and start by getting these seats taken out, and then we'll take these seat bases, which are just a basic frame, and we'll get, using tubing and some angle iron, we'll build us some mounts to get these side-by-side seats mounted up in the LJ. Okay, seats are installed, got those bases all done, painted, bolted back in. I'm really happy with the way it came out. I struggled a little bit in knowing how high to mount these seats. If you get it, look from the inside, I'll try to put you at my eyeball level, and you can see, feels like you're a little bit high, like the seat would need to come down, right? Well, then if you look down at your leg, little side angle, when you go to push the clutch, my knee is super high. So that makes it feel like the seat needs to go down because my legs are completely cramped up and jammed in. So your head makes it feel like the seat needs to go down, and your legs make it feel like the seat needs to go up. So that tells me it's at the perfect height. The last thing I'm gonna do to these, I'm waiting on some dye coming from Amazon. I'm not a huge fan of the silver, and obviously this is not a Kawasaki. I think if those were completely black, it would actually fit more with the vehicle itself and then cover up that Kawasaki. I think it would be perfect. So we're going to try it. So I've got that on order from Amazon. I also pulled out the seat belts that were in there. They actually still function, just a little bit of rust on them. And these, even though they look like a tan, at one point were black. So I will come back. I've done it before with seat belts. We'll hit that with some black fabric paint and we'll get those back to black and then reinstalled. So next thing, I did get these parts. They came from Australia. Actually happened a lot quicker than I expected, but I've got those in from, I think it was like 4-wheel drive, off-road, something like that on eBay. They had all these, shipped them to me. I've got my friend Keith coming over this evening and we'll see if we can get wheels and tires pulled off, install these brakes, see if we can get this thing to stop. We got updates. I got the brakes installed. Struggled to really get any kind of pedal at all from them, but they are installed. Just took it out, ran around the block, felt completely horrible. Basically has no brakes at all. So we figured the next best thing to do is take Mustard out on a camping trip. So we've got one successful lap around the block. I figured that's plenty. So I got my friend Dustin down here. He brought the Brat. We got everything loaded here in the back, which is basically a cot tent and a tarp. Should be plenty. So we're going to take Mustard and the Brat out. We're not going to go too far. We're just going to head out in the desert, have a little camp out. You ready? We're coming out. Danger. No brakes. We're moving. Oh, we got some bad vibrations happening.
So, I don't know if you guys can subscribe, but if you can, do it. Just do it.
We're doing it. Oh, oh man. All right, we're gonna need four-wheel drive here. Four-wheel drive. First test, hopefully it works. First gear. Oh, geez, that is low. Hey, we're working. That is the slowest crawl. Second gear. Oh yeah, this thing is awesome. Yeah. Dustin, hold on. Well, he doesn't have brakes, so this should be interesting.
Like about a half-inch of clutch to work with. I didn't think I need to push the gas. Oh yeah, it's getting skinnier. All right. Holy crap, I can't believe I did it.
Must have made it.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, now let's see if the brat can make it.
You're good on this side. Good here. Good. Such a good pair. These two were meant to be wheeling buddies. That's for sure. All right, campsite worked out really well. Brat and LJ got us here. Time to get out of here. I'm gonna just pull forward a little bit, give Dustin some room, then we gotta get turned around and get out of here. You're stuck? Hang on. Are you want me to push you backwards?
Down in the front.
Oh, geez, yeah. Okay. You want me to pull you with mustard? Like hook you up and just give you a tug? Or do you want me to push with my hands?
I'd say we're not getting out of that one.
All right, well, we got Dustin unstuck and I'm leading the way. I'm gonna get out of here. A little smoky. Woo! Well, the camp out turned out perfect. It was so great to have Dustin in town. The Brat was such a good wheeling companion for Mustard. We had a really good time. Some of the things I haven't shown you yet, I was able to work out a lot of this wiring here in the engine bay. I'm going to show you kind of how that turned out. Got everything tucked up and buttoned up for the most part. I did add a K&N air filter. Radiator's all done. Kept everything cool while we were there. That fan worked really, really well. I did get the battery strapped down with a bungee cord, so that worked out great. We did get the lights wired up in case we needed them as we were going camping. Some of the stuff I still got to do, like the dash lights. I don't have a temp gauge. The speedo did work, odometer worked, no fuel gauge, no turn signals, no tail lights, brake lights, anything like that yet. So that'll be something we have to take care of in the future. I also need to still get these painted, get the seatbelts painted, and get those installed. Some of the biggest issues though, like I mentioned with the brakes, there's got to be something wrong with this master cylinder. It was out of a Datsun truck, and I'm wondering if my throw is just not enough to fully push all the air out. We've bled the brakes probably 3 or 4 different times. The fluid looks great, and there's no air in the lines, but I still have no pedal unless you pump it. So I'm thinking that may have to do with, like I said, that pedal, something in that master cylinder. So we'll have to look at that later. Another big issue that I had is clearance. At one point, I actually got stuck because this tire got completely stuffed up underneath the fender and was hitting the body. And you can see these springs are actually going the wrong direction. Not a lot of spring left in them. So I've heard of people re-arching springs. Not sure if that's a thing or not, but it's something I'm going to have to look into because finding parts for this thing here is just about impossible. But I think for now, I'm really happy with the way it's come out. Have to save all this other stuff for another day. That's going to do it for this episode. Appreciate you watching.